and my awesome friend Amy. Can I just tell you how honored I am that she asked me to introduce her because I'm sure she like knows all of you and she doesn't need to be introduced because she's friends with everybody. Like, wow, she chose me. Okay. So she has this very cute little bio she wrote. In your programs it says she is, what is it? Full of sunshine. She is, look at this face. That's my Amy. Okay. So she's an artist and a photographer. She looks for and has greater capacity to create beauty because of bright line eating. She's from the Pacific Northwest. Which part?
Just outside of Washington, Kirkland.
Okay. All right.
Seattle.
And grew up in the Midwest and lived in Florida, but Utah is her home. She loves the mountains, skiing, camping, hiking, biking, going to the lake, and paddleboarding. And all of these fun adventures are made even more enjoyable in a body that is healthier. She says, I love that I can be the best version of myself and help my family be healthier because of the tools I have learned from Brightline Eating. Isn't that so true? And I'll tell you that she is like the best mom I know. Like, she's amazing. So you're going to learn a lot from this class because her kids are like her whole world right now. Am I right? And she does it. Like, I know it's hard. Like, I know it's hard. It's hard for her. It's hard for all of us, but she is amazing. So thank you, Amy, for doing this class.
Thanks, Carrie. You're so sweet. I'm gonna step over this way because I felt like that light was like in my eye. So hopefully you're all in the right class. This is where you want to be. So I'm going to just introduce myself a little bit. She already said a lot of it. One of the challenges that I face in doing Brightline Eating all under one roof is that I do have 4 kids, and they're all particular in different ways. And my youngest is autistic, so he's extra particular in extra special ways. And then I feel like my strengths are reframing and ideas. And then my weaknesses are, giving in or having moments where I want the not my food. But my favorite thing, and negative self-talk. And then my favorite thing about BLE is the connection and support we have. I just think it is so crucial. So this is my fun little name. When you're trying to make positive changes, but your brain has its favorite neural pathway. And that's kind of how I feel sometimes. And then the other thing though about me is this is what I feel like I am. This is the physical embodiment. I don't know if anyone, it's kintsugi. It's a Japanese art where if there's pottery that's broken, rather than getting rid of this beautiful art piece, they fix it with gold. And they make it even more beautiful. So the breaks, the chips, they become more enhanced, but they also become part of the art. And that's kind of what I feel like as I've traveled this Brightline Eating journey through my life. I feel like every time I've fallen off a path that I want to be on, I've come back stronger or learning more about myself and who I want to be. So I want each of you to think back to when you were younger. Did you ever get shamed for food? Did someone make a comment about your weight, your size, your body? So you can choose to raise hands or just think about it. But for me, it would be yes to both of those. And some of the thoughts that come with that, think about where you would be if those hadn't been said, or what made you maybe reach for the food instead. What do you wish they had said? What do you wish had been the thing said to you? When we're learning to walk, I love this analogy, right? Because I have been a mom and have little kids. When you're learning to walk and you're teaching your child how to walk, you know that that's the next phase that they're going to go through. They figured out crawling, now they're going to walk. And you're holding their hands, you're helping them along, you're showing them how to step, you're even sitting across the room, supporting them, like reaching out so they only have inches to go. And you know they're gonna make it, and you're cheering and you're being supportive. And if they fall down, you're not saying, I cannot believe you just fell. You pick them up, you help them learn how to stand again, and you say, that's okay, I know you're gonna get here. Keep going, you can do this. Same thing when you're learning to ride a bike. When you're learning, you have to take even more into balance, right? So learning to walk was one thing, now learning to ride a bike. You are having to learn how to see ahead. You're having to plan where you're going to go. You have to engage all of your mind and your body to pedal, because this is a different movement than you've ever done before. It is a different trajectory, and it requires a lot more response. But if you fall off your bike, same thing. The positive talk comes out. It wasn't, I can't believe you just fell. I'm so upset that you skinned your knee. It was, I'm so sorry. Let me give you a hug. How can I help you? How about I hold the back of your bike? How about I hold your training wheels until you get them on? And that's the response that you want to have as you're doing your Brightline journey and doing it all under one roof, is looking at yourself and looking at your family as, we're all learning this together, especially if you're just getting started. They've eaten whatever it is you've given them. They've eaten whatever it is they've wanted. So rather than beating yourself up for where you are at or where they are at in their journey, loving and telling them it's okay. You're going to be learning. This is a process. Don't sacrifice yourself too much, because if you sacrifice too much, there's nothing else you can give and nobody will care for you. So as you're caring for your family, remember, it's kind of like when you get on the airplane and they say, put your oxygen mask. Should we go down? Make sure yours is on first. And that's so hard to do sometimes when you have little people. I was evaluating and asking other people who are raising families, and how do you handle stress? What do you do in the situation? And so many said, oh, well, I don't eat because I've got to get them fed. Or I don't shower because they've got to go to their thing, or there's this mess that happened, or this child forgot this thing. So it's taking the time to also make yourself a priority, and it's okay to teach them that. One of the phrases I say is, Mom is a person too, and I haven't eaten, and I need time to eat. So this is a concept that was presented by an ER nurse in her TED Talk, and I'm so sorry I forgot to write down her name so I'd have it here. But she presented this and said, we come at life so often in a triage situation where everything is a red and everything is emergency and everything must be handled. But if you're coming at life like it's all urgent, then you aren't able to categorize things properly. So in the triage, they have the red that need first immediate care. You have a yellow and a green. So here's an example of that. So this is an emergency. Emergency is red. It's life-threatening, medical condition, expect to receive immediate attention. So it's like bloody wound, got to get taken care of. Then they say a very urgent is that after the red patients are stabilized, they get to the urgent. And then after the red, they go to the yellow, which is they need a little bit more attention, but they can handle holding their wound while they're sitting here. And the green is they can function immediately. We'll get to them as soon as possible. So this is kind of, I related this to Brightline eating, in that if we're constantly living in our busy life of everything is a red and everything is emergency, it's really hard to live in peace around our food because everything is an emergency. And if we can look at the situations that present themselves in our lives and, like this ER nurse said, triage your situation. So you're not always living in a red, but that you are figuring out, well, what are the 3 things I need to do today? What is the thing that's most important? And Susan Pierce Thompson talks a lot about bunny slippers. And I think bunny slippers is getting yourself into that normal day routine when you have it feeling like everything is an emergency. It's what can I do to bring myself back down so that I can handle the things that are coming at me. So I have a thing that I've called a trifecta. I feel like everybody probably has one. And yours might look similar to mine, or you might have your own. So for me, I'll say, I'm hitting my trifecta. I am hungry, I'm tired, and I'm stressed. And if those 3 things are in place, it's a lot harder. I feel like I'm in the red. I feel like everything is an emergency, and the food that is being presented for me must be eaten no matter what it is, because I'm in my trifecta. So sometimes I've called or Marco Polo'd or messaged and said, I'm feeling my trifecta coming on, and I know I'm going into this situation where they're going to have NMF at this gathering, and I'm already in this place. So I am committing to you that I'm not going to have any of it, Or here is my emergency action plan that I realize I need to put into place. Rather than going into this party knowing that they're going to have NMF and I'm going to have to make choices after choices after choices, I'm eating before. And then I can say, oh, I already had dinner, thank you so much, but I'd love some water. Or I've been in some where I've been able to say, oh, I'm just mingling, I'm gonna have some later. And then if you just keep moving through the room, people just don't notice that you're not eating anything. And that's okay. And it's okay to ask for support so that you don't stay in your trifecta, you don't stay in your red alert all the time. Okay, so I'm not sure if any of you have heard of Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies. So just like you're having to get to know your children to know how to love them and parent them, part of Bright Line Eating that I love is you're getting to know yourself. You have tendencies, and I love her methodology of it, is that her method is there's an upholder, a questioner, a rebel, and an obliger. So the descriptions are: upholder meets outer expectations and inner expectations. A questioner resists outer expectations but meets their own. An obliger meets outer expectations but resists inner expectations. And a rebel resists both. And I'm sure in your mind, you've already labeled like yourself or one of your kids as one of these. You're like, oh my goodness, this child is such a rebel. Like nothing I say or they say is going to matter. They're going to be that. Why would this matter? Well, it matters because the more you get to know yourself, then you can say, okay, I'm an obliger. I'm not going to look at the fact that I have to call somebody else to say, hey, I'm committing to you, I'm going into this situation and I'm not eating it. I'm not looking at that as, I can't believe you haven't figured this out yet. I'm looking at it and saying, I know that this is the way I can best support myself. This is who I am. I'm not going to be able to resist or go off my inner expectations, but if I put it and told somebody I was doing it, I'm going to feel like I need to follow what I said because I told them. And then one thing that I've loved is that I feel like, we kind of have all of these in us at some range or level. And the thought of the questioner resists outer expectations but meets inner expectations. And the rebel, all of these, the thing that can help you is thinking, who's the person I want to be? What is the bright line eater that I want to be? Like Joanne said earlier, how she had that scale that was like, you're ignoring, you're complying. The person I want to be in bright line eating, I want to be surrender to embracer. That's where I want to land in my bright line eating. And if I'm going into a situation or making a choice that's not supporting that's the person I want to be, then I need to change something, because that's the big picture stuff, is what is the big goal that I'm working towards. It's not, for me, I've been up and down in my weight and up and down my weight loss and in my mental capacity and all the things, right? And for me, it's keeping my eye on who is the person that I want to be, because for me, my little people are watching me all the time. And I'd love to say, like, oh, as long as my back is turned, they don't see me eating this food. As long as I'm hidden over here, they're not going to know that mom is making these poor choices. But darn them, they see and know everything. And so I have to think, like, not just who I want to be for me, but what's the example that I want to be for the people in my family? Because I can't make somebody who is a questioner do exactly what I'm going to say, but I can be an example and they can choose for themselves. So here's another example of it. So an obliger, you're the good things, right? Let's not just look at the negative things. The obliger, you're reliable, you're responsible, easy to get along with, but you might not follow through on your own goals. You get overworked, you burn out because you're always doing all the things for other people. The upholder is self-directed. You love deadlines, managing tasks and commitments. You could be considered rigid, inflexible, and disapproving and judgmental. The questioner, you are really data-driven and evidence-based, fair-minded, but sometimes you can get tired, have analysis paralysis, breaking good habits. And then the rebel, you resist addiction independent, thinking outside the box and authentic, but sometimes it shows up as uncooperative, inconsiderate, restless, struggles with monotone and mundane tasks. So you can look at each of these circles and say, okay, so there's positives and negatives to this. The goal is be like the parent holding onto the bicycle and look at your positives and what can you do to adjust your Brightline eating program and your family situation to accentuate your positives to stay in the program. But also, how can you give yourself some grace, some love and kindness on the things that might be your natural tendencies that might not be the best part of you. All right, so this is the Eisenhower matrix. And I love this for when you're in that zone of trying to make the decisions between where am I at? Is everything at a red level or am I at the yellow level? Where is this supposed to be? And I feel like my kids have ADHD. I wonder sometimes if it's a tendency I have as well, because I feel like thinking of it like this, instead of living in the red, allows you to evaluate this decision, this task, what can I do? Do, task immediately, examine project. So that's in that quadrant. And then the schedule, so that's planning ahead, tasks you schedule to do later are in this quadrant. So it's not urgent, but it's important. Do you see the quadrants that it's making? And then delegate, urgent, tasks will spend less time and delegate to someone else, or eliminate. Do I really need to be doing this? And I think sometimes we get so stuck on we have to do all of the things. And maybe we need to do a little bit more of the eliminate. Can I say no to one more thing? Can I put myself first, put my oxygen mask on first and say, actually, now I'm gonna have to schedule this or delegate this to someone else. Last year, Genevieve Campbell talked on this subject, and she said she had her kids, she didn't cook for them. They did all their cooking. And there was a sweet lady that came in just a minute before, and she's like, oh, I don't need to be in here because I don't cook for anybody in my family. I don't make their food. And I'm like, yeah, then you probably don't need to be in here because you can just do it yourself. And you've now already done the delegate to other people. They are handling that. But sometimes that's really hard to do all in one household when you are trying to take care of everybody and everything, and you're the one managing all of their schedules and their stuff. To then separate and say, I don't do that, but I guarantee there is something you can delegate. If it isn't the food prep, maybe it's now you all are going to do a chore chart. And I'm teaching you life skills so that you can now be a productive citizen in society. Like, use big picture for kids, right? They want to know, well, why do I have to empty the dishwasher? Okay, you get to learn how to empty a dishwasher so that then you can move on, and when you have roommates and move out of the house and get married, you can be the one who knows how to empty and fill a dishwasher. And then it takes that where it's not even about you. You're not saying, I need you to empty the dishwasher because I haven't had a chance to eat and this house needs to get taken care of and it's a hot mess and you all need to do something. It's putting it on this other obvious but not always seen shelf of later responsibilities for them. But by delegating different responsibilities, if you have to do the food, find what else can you ask others to do. And I think that's hard sometimes to say, I can't do this by myself, and even bring your family into it. But the more you allow others in your home to do some of these things for you, the easier Brightline eating gets. And it's okay for them to see you speak out loud and say, I'm really stressed right now. I've got all of these things to do. Here are my top 4 that have to happen. And we have to leave in an hour. And I don't know how to do it all. I have been amazed at how my kids, when I say, I don't know what to do, these are the things that have to happen, that they say, I can do this and I can help with that. Because they love you just like you love them. And they want to support you and help you. And I think for my family, I can see that my family history of food choices and food addiction is not just me. It is my generations back. It is something that they might even have to face. So by me being vocal in a loving and kind way and talking out loud to myself and to my children and saying, these are the things I'm trying to work through, it's helping them to think through things too. And that's okay for them to learn. And You already know how to say things in a way that appeals and applies to them. So you'll be inspired on what is the thing that they could do? What is the thing that you could delegate to your husband? One of my things that I love that my husband has done is the end of the day, I'm exhausted. From 3 till 8, 9 o'clock when my kids are in bed is bananas at our house. It's like, go and do, that is not the time I meal prep. That is the time I'm getting people fed. I'm getting them where they need to go. And by the time that rolls around, my habit before Bright Line Eating was, oh, thank goodness I did it. I made it. I'm going to sit, I'm going to eat, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And they went hand in hand. Like, I get to do what I want to do and I eat. And so instead of having that freedom of thought from food, it was food is now my freedom. And we need to choose a different freedom. So I delegated it to him, and he said, I can take doing the dishes at the end of the day, and I will have either a kid help me or I will do it, so that once the kitchen is closed, since I've already fed them, 3 times, you think it'd be 3 times, but they think it's open a lot more than 3 times. He takes that on and he's like, I will do the dishes and I will put the things away so that I can take my cup of tea and go up to my room and find another way to do a treat for myself that doesn't include food. And I loved this quote from Hank Smith. He's a positive speaker. He said, behind every amazing kid, there's a mother who's pretty sure she's messing everything up, because I have thought that 100%. I'm pretty sure I'm messing it all up. All right, so under one roof, I want you can do this now, or when we have our break, you can do it. Draw a figurative house. What do you want inside your house? What do you want to build your foundation? What protects you from the storms? So maybe that's your roof that you build. And how do you do that with Bright Line Eating? So here's an example. I wanted to be an example. I wanted to know myself. I needed to plan ahead. I needed to connect. And then my foundation was I needed to keep trying and asking for help. But a very detailed one later. I love a good doodle. It really helps me process thoughts. But think for yourself. So I'll get back to that. Oh, sorry. That one. So think for yourself on some of those questions, and then you can do that at the end. All right. So this is another thing that helps me. It's CTFAR. Okay, so hear me out. Circumstance. It's a fact everyone would agree with. The thought comes from the circumstance, the feeling comes from the thought, and the action and the result. So I'm going to give you an example of mine. The circumstance, this is a real one. The circumstance is my child did not make it to the potty and poop their pants. My thought is, this is so frustrating. This is disgusting. Why can't he figure it out? I should have taken him to the bathroom sooner. I am so upset at myself. The feeling is I'm a failure. And you know what the feeling is? The feeling is I deserve a treat because I took care of this. And then the action, I can choose 2 actions from these thoughts and feelings. My action could be, okay, now I'm gonna sit down and I'm giving myself a treat, and we're all just gonna take a little break, and we're all gonna just like sit and eat this food, because that's how I get freedom in a break, is that you get the food. And then the results are, well, what would the results be? The results are, now I feel sick because my body is not used to flour and sugar, but I also get the results of, I get the sugar hangover, I get the results of feeling awful, and then being upset. Like, then I'm upset because instead of keeping my bright line, I gave it up. And then when I look back, I'm like, and what was the initiating circumstance? It was your poop. It's just like when I had that moment, I was like, weakness. I can do better than this. So circumstance, my child had an accident, didn't make it to the potty. My thought could be, I'm so sorry. I was busy. You were trying your best. We're all just trying our best. Let's clean this up together. My feeling can be frustration. It doesn't have to be that I'm no longer feeling frustrated, but my feeling can also be compassion. It can also be love. And let's work on this together. And then my action can be, guess what? Now you get another life skill opportunity. You now get to learn how to clean the floor and clean the toilet. And aren't you so lucky that you've learned this skill, child? And the results can be that I've now taught him through love and compassion and patience. And I'm in a better place. I'm not reaching for the food. I'm not in this like spiral of hating myself or thinking I've messed up or being overly critical. If you saw my first slide, that is one of my things, is my weakness is negative thoughts. keeping my mind positive. No human ever became interesting by not failing. The more you fail, recover, and improve, the better you are as a person. And I think the thing to notice that is the more you fail and recover and improve. It's not fail and never do anything about it. It's look at a situation and say, okay, this time I went to the fridge and instead of asking myself, whoa, wait a minute, it's not my meal time. The favorite thing I like to ask myself when that does happen, instead of beating myself up about going to the fridge or going to the pantry, isn't, oh, I'm so mad at myself for going there. It's, wait a second, it's not my meal time. I'm not actually hungry. What am I hungry for? Is it I need comfort? Is it that I'm tired and I really just need to take a nap? Is it that I'm trying to procrastinate all the stuff I have to do with them? Because believe me, I have a million reasons that I can turn to a fridge, and it's figuring out why. Because then I can break that down and I can find the way to recover and to improve. So instead of going to the fridge and saying, I'm going to go ahead and have this, it's saying, oh, thank you, thought, for showing up for me that I just turned to the fridge. Thank you, hand, for opening the fridge and being that signal that makes me say, wait, why did I do that? And what can I do better? What's happening in the situation that I'm putting this in a triage? I'm putting it in the red instead of keeping it in the peaceful zone where I can be my highest self. So planning ahead. I'm not going to touch on all these things because I know you guys know this, right? Plan ahead, plan for meals, plan for habit stacks, plan for the unexpected, and have backups for the stuff. So it's I've got this planned for dinner, but guess what? In the freezer, I have this meal and this meal and this meal I can throw into the crock pot for everybody because yes, I planned for this, but life gets lifey as a mom and as taking care of a family and trying to do bright line eating. I always tell when I commit my food, I say, here's my food and here's my backup plan. And either I say exactly what it is, or I say, and I promise to have a bright line meal, and while I'm eating it, I will tell you exactly what I'm eating. Is that the perfect crystal vase way? No, but I've already committed to you guys. I'm a kintsugi, I am not a crystal vase. So eat healthy. So these are all of the things that they talk about for like eating healthy. And sometimes it's like, it's just good to remember that these are all of my reasons. Like, okay, yes, I do want healthier skin. I do want to have a boost and not get type 2 diabetes and some cancers. Sometimes just thinking of like the real big reasons of those. And then our 3 meals. So this is one that plan for your kids' meals. Right now with summer, I know my kids are going to want to eat 3 times a day. Every day, 3 times a day, and then they're also going to want snacks. And so if I can plan and prepare that this is going to happen, so the night before or while I'm making breakfast, because I have way more ability in my morning time to function. Once it's 3 o'clock, I have hypothyroidism too. So it's like, that's when I start feeling the brain fog and the exhaustion. So that's also when they all come home from school or from their activities and want a snack. So I plan that I'm going to have a veggie tray. And here's the veggie tray from the fridge, but you can't just put bags out because I've learned if you put it in a bag, they see the bag. They don't see the vegetables. If you put it on a tray, you say like, here's a little dip for you, and here's how colorful it is, then they might notice it. And then I usually do the extra thing of saying, it's good for our bodies. The person we want to work towards being is healthy, and healthy people eat some veggies before they eat all of the NMF that I try not to have in the house, but somehow. That's the other thing. How does it come back? I don't know. It just keeps coming back in. So I put up a few of my favorites. I went to Costco on my little shopping trip for you. These, they taste more kind of like a hot doggy type thing, but my kids love them and they're very long. I tried to like hold my hand so you could see. They're very long. So it's like 1 1/3 is 4 ounces. And so if you did the math on that, and that's a pack of, there's 3 packs of, anyway, there's quite a bit in that. They already have cut up chicken. They already have the chicken skewers. And then the seasonings that don't include the sugars. You can add flavor to your meal, because even though I'm okay with a more simple palate, my family still isn't as used to it. They need to have it taste and flavor to things more than I do. And then if you're an example of we're doing exercise not as I'm doing this to lose weight and I'm beating up my body, but I'm doing this from a place of love because I want to be healthy, and you need to see the example of me moving and going with my day and living a healthy lifestyle. And then the thing that we say is we always park a little bit further away. And then my kids are like, why are we always parking a little bit further away? I'm like, because then we get more steps. Isn't that so great? We love a good extra step. And I think going out in nature and connecting yourself with that is good for everybody in your family. Meditation, that's a great one that they've talked on. I find that if I just give myself my 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, and really I started out so small. It's 2 minutes was my start, and then I built it up. But it's like if I can start off with my morning habit stack, including meditation, where I just center myself, I am able to then process. So one of the other things that I love is journaling. I didn't love journaling. I resisted it for years, pre-BLE. And then I was like, okay, well, I can start with the 5-year journal. And the 5-year journal, I started not writing about me, but I wrote about my kids and what we had going on. And then I realized that that allowed me to then open the door to other journaling. So don't stress about writing pages and pages. Start small. Gratitude journal, food journal, trash journal. Do you know what a trash journal is? It's really great. If you've got all of the things that you don't want anyone else to say, you can write as horrible. You don't have to worry about spelling. You can just get it out and know that you're going to rip up that page, shred it up, and trash it. And no one's going to see it, but it allows you. The apps that I like to use are One Day or One a Day. No, I think it's One Day, and Google Keep to journal when I'm on the go, because sometimes it's like I need a second to process why I'm feeling this way or what's happening, and I've got 5 minutes before this kid gets in the car and this one's at this place. I can take a second and journal what's happening in my mind. This is a new thing that I started recently called Morning Pages. It's from Julia Cameron. And the book is called An Artist's Way. And since I'm a photographer, it really spoke to me. But I also kept finding correlations between the Artist's Way and Bright Line Eating. And I love the morning pages of where you just kind of do a brain dump in your morning and write about all the things that you're trying to process so that you can clear your mind, so you can be able to focus in the situation. And then get in touch. When you do your mastermind groups, when you do your Gideon games and you reach out, you don't feel so alone in this process. And sometimes doing Bright Line Eating and taking care of everyone else and all of the things that you have to do with that can feel overwhelming and lonely, and you're not alone. You build on failure, you use it as a stepping stone. Close the door on the past. You don't try to forget the mistakes, but you don't dwell on it. You don't let it have any of your energy or any of your time or any of your space. So one more thought then. So again, think on your 5-year-old self. What do you wish they had said? What do you wish had been the home that you had grown up in? The support with the food, the communication, the conversation, and try to incorporate that in your home. And don't feel like you have to do 100%. Just try that one thing better. What's the one thing that you can do better today? And get your family involved, because just like you love them, they love you, and they want to help you build a beautiful house, and one that is supportive of your journey, because your journey directly affects their journey too. Yeah. So we'll go back, everybody, with your next few minutes. Oh, I gotta go back up here. You can take the next few minutes to talk amongst yourself, plan ahead, and build your house. So in your house, you could do, what is the foundation? What are the windows? What are the trees around it? Like, you could go really detailed. But this is building up that thought process of what is it that you really want to have happen in your house for your best Bright Line Eating journey. What can your house do to support you in success? Okay, so I just got a question that I'll go ahead and answer while you guys are still drawing. It's, how do I do my meals and my kids' meals? So my families. So part of the reason I didn't touch on this as much is that Peggy Moore is going to be doing one that's like how to feed a family. So, but hers is tips and trips for making meals. So I'll tell you the difference of what I do for me. So I do salad jars, but I like the wide mouth salad jar, and I prepare a salad for me. And then I'll do a lot of proteins. So I'll cut and chop and prepare vegetables because that's the thing that takes a long time. And then I will have it be that we all have a protein together. So lettuce wrapped hamburgers are great. I do lettuce wrapped tacos. They have normal tacos, stuff like that. But simplifying the meals and not feeling like I have to make this great gourmet thing, but that we're all eating the same thing and they get to choose I tell them it's a carb. They get to choose a carb for the sides. And then they also, I've been having them take the opportunity, since I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old, and even my 8-year-old, I let them take an opportunity to learn how to prepare a side. So they're learning how to prepare the potatoes, the rice, and that while I'm making the other part of the meal. I really love doing meats and things in the crock pot or the Instant Pot and the barbecue. Locally, there's Citrus Pear that does freezer meals. And I know they've got other locations, but they will allow me to do the meal, and I tell them no flour, no sugar. And then they'll send me back and say, well, this one has this in it and this one has that in it. And remember, I'm a Kitsuki. But I look at it and say, it's a tablespoon of honey over 6 servings, over a small portion, over everybody's meal. I'll have them half it, and then it's not enough for it to trigger me. If you were a 10 plus, it might trigger you, and it might not be a good choice. But for me, I outweigh that with the fact that I can have something that's an Instant Pot meal that I can throw in and be ready in an hour when I'm running behind. So, and by choosing from their menu, that allows me more freezer meals, but I've done a lot of my own freezer meals and prep so that it's planning ahead. Okay, these are the freezer meals I'm going to make. If you're making something for your family that is Brightline compatible, that you can put it into a freezer, double it. And then you're making the item that you're eating that night with your family, and you're putting another one in the freezer with the date and what your portion would be on the packaging, so that when you cook it, you can know that, like, here's this would be my portion. I don't have to think about it again. I know that once this is cooked, this is how much I'm pulling out for myself. And that helps because I have that meal prepped beforehand. I meal prep my breakfast. So I do the breakfast bar, or I love cherries with Greek yogurt, and then I mix up what my starch is. But by having that all prepped, so it's in the fridge in jars, then I don't have to think about it. When it's my breakfast time, I can grab it. I also don't eat breakfast with my kids. Now during the summer, I do more, but when they were at school, they are all out the door by 9 a.m. and I walk them to school, or I go and exercise a little. I have to, for my thyroid and my mental health. Everyone has their own opinion on exercising and Brightline eating, but for me, I'm not killing myself. I'm doing things that allow my body to keep moving and be active. And I eat after. So then that is something that I'm able to be like, great, I got you all at the door. You all had your breakfast, and now I can sit and have mine because I'm tired of my yogurt and cherries. I love variety within it. So I usually only do things for a week, and I meal prep and prepare for a week. And I will do a lot of meal prepping on Sunday. So that's when I will do my salad jars and chop it. That's why I like the chicken skewers, because it's 2 chicken skewers, and I have that. And then my little bowl, I can show you. I have my lunch here. I call it a charcuterie for one, and it's in a cute, colorful bowl because I deserve cute things too. And it's just veggies cut up, and then some of the beef sticks, and then I have my sour cream as my fat that I've made into a ranch dip, so that I have that to eat my food with, and then that's my fat. But the more I can say, these are my things that are all ready to go, then I don't have to make a decision between that 3 and 8 time when things are crazy and busy. And it saves all of us. But like during the summer right now, I'm having them each take a day and it's not even always in a 1 week, but like, okay, you want to learn how to make this? I'm going to teach you how to make spaghetti sauce the Brightline eating way, so that we have the meat separate. and the sauce separate. And then I'm letting them know, not everybody eats like this. A lot of people put their meat and their spaghetti all together and do it in one bowl. Here's why we do it separately. And I want you to have the freedom to choose. So that's the other thing. I actually love our theme this year because that's what I say to my kids a lot. I want you to have the freedom to choose. And if I put them all together in one thing, that means you don't get to choose how much you want of the ground beef and how much you want of the pasta sauce and how much you want of the pasta. And by having it separate, mom can choose and you can choose too. And so I love things like spaghetti squash and cooking those in the Instant Pot, or doing sheet pan dinners where I cut up a bunch of veggies and then we put them in the oven to roast so that it can be, but this is the thing with sheet pan. I like the veggies on one and the protein on the other, because the veggies sometimes will cook faster than the protein will. And I don't like my meat overcooked, and I don't like my veggies. I like everything where I want it. And so by having it be that I choose that. The seasonings are great. There's tons at Trader Joe's that they have in the way of seasonings and flavorings to add to it that just allow it to have more flavor. And then I also put those things out and say, okay, we're going to try. Mom didn't season this. What flavor do you like? So that you know for the future what you want to eat. This one likes things a little spicier and Mexican. Okay, he's having Mexican veggies. This one likes Italian seasoning. Okay, guess what? You get to have Italian veggies. And then they get to feel like they're science. And then they take a little serving of the roasted vegetables and they try it with Italian seasoning. And then they're like, oh, I kind of like that. And so instead of making it food about this, well, you have to eat this, it's what can we do to make this fun? But I'm also putting and presenting. So every meal we have 2 vegetables. And I'm presenting and letting them serve themselves, minus my 6-year-old, who would choose, because he has a tactile texture thing, he would choose applesauce all day, every day, or yogurt. He doesn't want to chew, he doesn't want to do any of that. But I have got him from seeing my example. He now says he loves salad, and he will eat a salad. So, I mean, they're watching, and they're learning the things that we're doing, and they're seeing us. But I love colorful bowls. I love to have a variety on my plate. I'd rather have 10 small portions of lots of different things and make myself a giant lunchable looking thing than having just one bowl of mush stuff together. But if I'm going to eat a giant salad, I'm going to have a really cute big bowl of salad, and it's going to be adorable. And then I'm going to eat that and I'm going to be like, my salad is delicious. Don't you all wish you could have my salad? And just tell them that, because I do think having that positive mindset about what we are eating is good. Because if you think about it, they're thinking that when they are eating NMF. And so it's like, if you can balance that too, where they're seeing that I'm enjoying my salad. I'm not doing it like, oh, I have to, where you're in the comply stage of Joanne's talk, where you're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but you're enjoying your salad. You're enjoying the things that you're eating. You're enjoying the color on your plate. Isn't my plate beautiful with all of this color and variety on it? That answer at all? Yeah. A food chopper? I have 3 food choppers, Zach, Lizzie, and Spencer. So they're all learning how to use knives, or have learned how to do it. So I like it involving them and having them cut things up, and it's not always cut right. And I'm okay with that, because that's another thing I can delegate that they can help with. And then it's like the easier vegetables to cut up, like the peppers, they'll go to the one that's younger. And the harder things like a carrot, the rolls, will go to the one that's older. But I like the Pampered Chef chopper that allows you to chop more. And you just kind of have to give up on it looking like perfect little pieces, because it doesn't. And then getting really good knives actually makes it so you can cut faster. I think we're at time, right? Well, but does anyone have, I love sharing ideas, and I was hoping this would be more of a discussion until we were talking about Zoom and I had to be like up here talking. So I would love if anybody else has things that they do in their home that like makes a difference for food or for meal planning, and to share your ideas on that, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us. So I think my biggest thing is the chopping of veggies and prepping that stuff ahead of time. And then mason jars, I feel like keep the grape tomatoes, you know, you get them in a tub from Costco, but they keep better if you put them in a mason jar. So I've got like my colorful fridge full of mason jars of cut and prepped vegetables, because then they last just a little bit longer, so I can pick and choose when I make it. We should have food be fun. I feel like sometimes I can easily go to like the food is no longer fun, food is just fuel, and that's not the house I want to build. I want to build a house where they appreciate and love the fuel that it is, but can still have fun. So, does anyone else have anything that they do? Yeah, so my 6-year-old loves to eat off of my plate. That's part of the reason why he likes the salad. So what he doesn't know is that when he's in that mood, I can tell. So I have my salad, and then that's all portioned, and then here's this little portion to the side, because when he comes up and says, "Oh, can I have some of yours?" I'm like, "Yes, here you go. This is the stuff you can have. Thank you for asking." Instead, because he's just a reacher and will grab. So I'm like, teaching that good manners, like, thank you for asking if you want my food. And yes, you can have this portion of the food. But sometimes I have to say no. I have to say, no, mom didn't prepare for you to want some of this, but I'm happy to make you some. But mom's a person and I'm eating. You've had like 10 things today. One of the things I do to signal for myself is I really try to like keep the kitchen clean. So we'll like wipe the table, wipe the counters, put the food away, right? But I found, and it might be in Atomic Habits or The Power of Habit, they talked about how if you give yourself visual, like engage your senses. So I clean the table. We put down a table runner. I put out the flowers or centerpiece or whatever. I light a candle, and then I shut the pantry doors and stuff like that. And I just say, we're done. The kitchen's closed. They see, they smell, me as well, see, smell. Like it engages more of it for me to know I'm done eating. I've eaten my weight and measure food. You've all eaten your food. And then I say snack time will be, if you are hungry, this is what we're having for your snack, and this is when it will be. You're welcome to pick from these 5 things, but this is what it is, especially where my kids are now just a little bit older, where they could reach in the fridge and grab what they wanted. I'm like, I don't want to have it be though, then I keep cleaning it up. So we've got to work together so that you're learning how to pick up, because I really feel like some days I could spend the entire day in the kitchen consistently making. And I think it's setting that boundary, giving them the cues and setting a boundary so that you're not always in there doing all the things for everybody, and that they don't come home and think they can't get in the fridge because mom has to make all my food. It's empowering them to make their own food, to know how that I should be eating my 5 vegetables, 5 pieces of carrots before I get this NMF, because that helps my body. And trying to teach that skill. Because I know I sure didn't learn it. Dad came home with a giant bowl of NMF after a hard day of work and sat on the couch and loved us very much. But that was not the example I needed to see. And so it's what example do I want for my family?